Hello, this is another one of my videos on universal house of justice in the Baha'i world from 1963 to 73. This one as part of the chapter on the hands of the cause and related institutions on the rulers and the learned. As usual, the primary source material is the book Messages from the Universal House of Justice, 1963-1986, and I'm also going to provide a reference below to an old article I wrote with Moojan Momen on the Baha'i faith from 1957 to 1988, which gives some sort of context for the developments. So let's start off with the group that the Baha'is term the institutions of the learned. In April 1972, Universal House of Justice provided further elucidation about the institution of the Continental Boards of Councils, created by the House itself in 1968. The Continental Boards have been primarily devised to extend into the future the functions of protection and propagation of the faith, which have been vested in the institution of the Hands of the Cause. Their establishment formed part of a series of developments involving the institutions of the learned, which had earlier seen the creation of the Hands of the Cause and the auxiliary boards as functioning institutions by Shokhi Effendi, and would in due course no doubt see other developments, such as an international teaching centre, which actually was created just at the end of our period in 1973, and also the work of the councillors expand. Although each of the three existing institutions at the time, that's the Hands, the councillors and the auxiliary boards, was distinct and separate from the others, they were all intimately interrelated and, in one sense, different ranks of a single institution. The learned in this context were one of two sections of Baha'i administrative order, the other being the rulers, comprising the members of the Universal House of Justice and of the national and local spiritual assemblies. This was a distinction which was derived from Baha'u'llah's Book of the Covenant, the Kitab al-Ahd, in which he had referred to the rulers and learned among the people of Baha. By way of elaboration, Shokhi Effendi had referred to the Baha'i learned as comprising the Hands of the Cause and other great teachers, whilst the rulers comprised the House of Justice and the spiritual assembly members. He had also noted that in distinction to the religions of the past, decision-making authority in the Baha'i faith was vested in the assemblies, all operating under the shadow of the Universal House of Justice, functioning as the single pivot and centre of the faith. The dangers of those who accounted themselves of superior knowledge and elevated in position, contending for power, found in previous religions, had been removed. For the Universal House of Justice, the Baha'i learned retained the beneficent elements of such institutions whilst avoiding all their inherent evils. Thus the Hands and their related bodies comprised individuals of exalted rank who played a vital role in the progress of the Baha'i cause and were of fundamental value to it. At the same time, however, they had no legislative, administrative, or judicial authority and were entirely devoid of priestly functions or the right to make authoritative interpretations. This distinction was a new and unique concept, which was not found in previous religions. The Baha'is themselves would only fully grasp the importance of these institutions with the passage of time, as the Baha'i community grew and the Baha'is were increasingly able to contemplate its administrative structure, uninfluenced by concepts from past ages. Only then would they properly understand the vital independence of the institutions of the rulers and of the learned, and fully recognize the inestimable value of their interaction. As with many other aspects of the administrative order, understanding grew as that order itself developed organically in response both to the power and guidance of God, and in accordance with Baha'i community needs as these developed over time. In passing, the House noted the inaccuracy of the distinction which was sometimes made by Baha'is between the two branches of the administration as appointive and elective arms. It was true that House and Assembly members were elected and that the hands, councillors and board members were appointed, but the elective arm also included the committees of the assemblies, and these were appointed bodies. A better distinction would be between the way in which the institutions of the rulers functioned as corporate bodies, whilst those appointed to one of the institutions of the learned operated primarily as individuals. Let's turn for a moment to the definitions given in the Constitution of the Universal House of Justice itself in 1972. First of all, the Continental Boards of Councillors. The institution of the Boards of Councillors had been brought into being by the House of Justice in order to extend into the future the hands of the cause to specific functions of protection and propagation. The members of these boards were to be appointed by the House for a term of office determined by the House. Each councillor only functioned within the geographical zone allocated to him or her by the House and automatically relinquished their appointment if they moved their residence outside the appointed zone. The boundaries of all zones were determined by the House. The rank and specific duties of a councillor made them ineligible for service on local or national assemblies. If a councillor was elected onto the House of Justice, they ceased to be a councillor. As to the auxiliary boards, in each zone of the continental councillors there would be two auxiliary boards, one each for protection and propagation of the faith, the numbers of members of which would be determined by the Universal House of Justice. The members of these auxiliary boards would be appointed by the councillors from amongst the Baha'is of that zone and would serve under their direction as the councillors' deputies, assistants and advisors. Each individual auxiliary board member would be allocated a specific geographical area in which to serve and would not function as a board member outside that area unless specifically deputized by the councillors to do so. Auxiliary board members were eligible for any elected office, for example, as assembly members, but if elected to a local or national administrative post, would have to choose between continued membership of the auxiliary board and the administrative post. If elected to the Universal House of Justice, then they would cease to be a board member. Finally, let me talk about further developments. After the formation of the Continental Boards of Councillors in 1968, there were no further institutional changes relating to the institutions of the learned until May and June of 1973, when the International Teaching Centre was established in Haifa, and some changes were made in the zones of the Continental Boards, as well as in their functioning and the total number of members. As these changes occurred after the end of the 9-year plan and the period covered by these videos, they will not be considered here. On a number of occasions after the Continental Boards had been formed, the House expressed itself well pleased with their functioning. It also made minor changes to their membership. Thus, in July 1969, the House announced that it had decided to raise the total number of councillors by 2 to 38, with the addition of one councillor each to the South American and Northeast Asian areas, raising their numbers to 4 and 3 respectively. There was also one change of membership to fill a vacancy that had arisen. Again, at Reservoir in the 1970s, the House noted that it was augmenting this vital institution through the appointment of 3 additional councillors, 2 in Europe and 1 in Western Asia, thus raising the overall total to 41. The number of auxiliary board members was also increased. In 1964, the total number had been raised from 72 to 135, and at Reswa in 1970, the House further increased the number of board member posts by 45 to a total of 180. The additions comprised 9 in Africa, 18 in the Americas, 16 in Asia, 2 in Australasia, there were 9 in Europe. Over 2/3 of the total number of board member posts, 126 in all, were for the Board for Propagation, that is teaching the faith, whilst the remainder, 54 posts, were for the board concerned with the protection of the faith. So we'll finish there. Many thanks to you for listening, particular thanks to my patrons for their kind support and encouragement. Without them I wouldn't be able to make these videos. You're very welcome to support my channel if you should so wish. Please do like, comment and share on the videos. Subscribe if you want to be notified of future videos. I'll give a Patreon link below in case you want to provide practical support. Next week we'll move on to aspects of administrative functioning. Have a good day.